You ever have that feeling, where you're constantly busy, you're working hard, but you're not actually getting anywhere? Well, in his book 0 to 1, Peter Thiel says that feeling isn't an accident. He says it's a choice, and it all comes down to one really powerful idea about the future. He puts this really challenging question out there. What if the biggest reason people never build anything truly meaningful is because they treat the future like it'll just, figure itself out? Think about that. Thiel's whole point is that this passive, kind of hopeful approach is the very thing that stops us from creating anything new in the first place.
And he frames this whole problem with a simple but really powerful metaphor. He says we're treating our lives like lottery tickets.
And his core message is this, right here. You are not a lottery ticket. I mean, think about it. Success isn't something that just happens to a few lucky people. And if you leave your future up to pure chance, well, you really can't be surprised when the results you get are totally random.
So here's Thiel's big argument. Most of us have a kind of broken relationship with the future. We just react to it. We follow the well-worn path, we get the safe job, make the predictable choices, and then just hope for the best, right? But he says this mindset is actually incredibly dangerous. Because when you don't have a plan, you're basically letting trends, other people, and just pure luck decide your life for you. The future shouldn't be something that happens to you, it has to be something you build.
Okay, so this brings us to the core framework of his whole idea. Thiel says there are really only two ways to look at tomorrow. And the difference between them? It changes absolutely everything.
All right, first up, we have what he calls definite optimism. This is the mindset of the inventor, the architect, the builder. These are people who believe the future will be better, not because of some vague hope, but because they have a specific plan to make it better. For them, the future is something to be designed.
And then you've got indefinite optimism. This is that super common belief that the future will get better, somehow. People are optimistic, sure, but it's totally vague. There's no real strategy. Thiel actually argues that this is the default mindset for most of us today. It's like a passive faith that things will just improve. And when you put them side by side like this, the difference is just, wow, it's stark. For the definite optimist, the future is a project. It's something you design and build. But for the indefinite optimist, it's a mystery you just discover and adapt to. One person moves with intention, the other just drifts between opportunities, always keeping their options open. And this leads to what is maybe the most sobering warning in the whole chapter. A vague future creates a vague life. It's that old saying, right? If you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. And that is how you end up somewhere you never ever wanted to be.
Now, of course, Peter Thiel applies this idea directly to the world he knows best, which is building companies. He's crystal clear on this. The greatest companies, those 0 to 1 companies, they are never, ever accidents. They are always built with a definite blueprint.
So a founder with this definite mindset, they start by asking a really fundamental question. What future do I actually believe in? They have a super clear vision for how the world should be different. And then they look beyond all the noise of today. They're asking, what problem is going to matter, really matter, in 10 years? They're focused on building for that future, not just reacting to whatever is trendy right now.
And finally, they ask that classic 0 to 1 question. What valuable company is nobody else building? This is all about creating something brand new from scratch, not just fighting over a piece of a pie that already exists.
So the big takeaway here is that building something truly valuable, it takes way more than just ambition. It requires a clear, definite direction. The great companies, they aren't lucky. They are built on purpose. But look, this chapter's message, it goes way beyond just business. It's really a critique of this modern tendency we all have to just drift. It goes right back to that feeling I talked about at the beginning. Being busy all the time, but not making any real progress. And this quote, man, it's such a powerful wake-up call. If you don't decide what future you want, you'll spend your life adapting to someone else's. Oof, it really makes you think, doesn't it? If you're not consciously designing your own life, you're just going to end up living out a plan someone else made.
Thiel's whole point is that we give way too much credit to luck. When you look back at these extraordinary results, whether it's in science, art, or business, they almost always came from people who were definite. They had a vision, they made a plan, and they executed it relentlessly. They weren't just lucky, they were definite.
So, what does this actually look like in real life? Let's use a really simple example to see the difference between these two approaches day to day.
Okay, Let's imagine two people. You've got person A, whose goal is super vague, be successful. I mean, it's a nice thought, but it leads to a strategy of just bouncing between different jobs and opportunities, hoping one of them sticks. Now look at person B. Their goal is specific, become a top AI product designer in 5 years. See that? That one single piece of clarity completely transforms their strategy. Now they know exactly what skills to learn, who they need to meet, what projects to build. One is just playing the lottery, the other is actually building a future.
And really, that's the final, challenging takeaway here. Stop treating your future like some big mystery you're just waiting to unfold. Decide what it is you want to build and then start laying the very first brick. Because if you keep on living your life like a lottery ticket, well, you just can't be surprised when your future feels completely and totally random. The choice in the end is yours.